flat 6 feet, but I think I've shrunk to 5'11".
Hello and
Like,
welcome. My name is Jay, and with me today is my good old friend Alexander Gonzalez.
Hey,
And please remember that we are not game devs. How you doing today, Alex?
not so good because I've been outed. I'm 5'11". Everybody knows now at the top of the episode. On my dating profiles, I put 6 because we round up. We round up.
I mean, what makes you think you shrank a whole foot?
No, a whole inch.
A whole inch?
Like half an inch. I think I'm not all the way there.
I
think
you thought
squatting.
you've always
I think
been
the oppression
5'11"
of
and a
life
half.
in general. Huh?
You always thought you were 5'11" and a half, but you always said you were 6
Well,
feet.
I at the doctor's office I'd get 6, and then other times like, ooh, close, but 5'11". And I'm like, what the hell?
Just some days you're taller, some days you're shorter. Some days you make it to 6 foot, but most days you don't. But those are not the heights we are talking about today. Today, we are creating something new. Every week, We Are Not Game Devs will create a new, exciting video game idea that we have always wanted to play, but not have any knowledge or know-how to create the wonderful experience that are video games. Today is my turn to present We Are Not Game Devs' 149th IP. So this one is going to be tough, I feel like, because I don't know how to make this a lot of fun, but we'll give it a shot.
Tougher than what was the toughest game you've made so far for me? It was the one where I had a hard time getting on board.
The one recently where I just wanted a superhero family going on vacation.
Oh, that's right. Just going to national parks, and even though there's powers, nothing nothing super happens.
Exactly. It might be harder than that. But you know how in most games, let's take Skyrim, for example. You're walking through a city and you bump into an NPC. Do you feel anything? Do you feel bad? Do you feel like you have to say sorry? Or do you just keep trucking along?
I'll tell you, I become more sociopathic as the game goes on. Like in a way where at first you're like, oh no.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's a Thane. Will the guard arrest me?
Yeah.
And then eventually once you learn all of the behaviors and everything, and you hit somebody, you're like, peasant. You're like, I could kill you now.
Yeah.
Or there's even been times where you do get sociopathic. Because I've had it where someone gets in my way and I can't leave a doorway. So I'll save, then murder them, then reload it just so I'm less frustrated at them.
Wow. I don't think I've ever done that. But
no, I thought everybody does.
But
Whoops.
I've definitely gotten more and more apathetic towards running into NPCs, especially if there's like a mount in the game. Like I would at first try to dodge people in my horse. And near the end game, especially if I'm going for the platinum, I'm literally just mowing people. If you are in my way, you are getting ran over. I don't care.
Oh, there's a whole side discussion that has to be made about when you're going for a platinum.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because when you're about 80% done, you know that game inside and out, like with Bug Snacks. And it was like, hey, hi. And I'm like, shut up, shut up, shut up.
Yeah.
I need to talk to this one person and one person only.
Exactly. That is definitely something during platinum hunting. But this game, you can't do none of that because this game is all about being as polite as humanly possible in crowded situations. So I want this to start off as you like.
So this is Anxiety Simulator. Is this what we're doing?
I kind of want it to feel and look like Hitman, where it gives you an objective and you got to complete that objective without upsetting anyone. And maybe it's going to be more play like a rinse and repeat game where it's like a quick restart type of thing. Like Ollie Ollie or something, where like, let's say the first thing is you have to go order food at a fast food restaurant. And so you can't bump into anyone there. You can't like cut in line. Maybe we could even add like dialogue where you have to be like polite and like speak nicely to these people. Like, hello, how are you doing today? Doing good. Thank you for asking. What could I get started for you today? And like actually have like a real life, nothing interesting, like a real life boring ass conversation.
I'm going to rip off a little bit of a show.
Okay.
But what if there's different levels? And I see where you're going with this. This isn't going to be that hard, I don't think. And what's going on is you're a terrible, terrible, terrible person. And you were in all aspects going to be sent to hell. But instead, they're having you earn your wings literally by putting you in situations where you have to be a good human being.
And then if you're bad, would it like, so I like it. So this will give it story. So there'll be some entertainment to this game instead of it just being annoying as all hell and everyone just quits after the first mission.
No, I got you. We're gonna make this a game.
Yeah,
I'm on board already.
We'll have it so you get sent like a Jiminy Cricket, right? You get sent like a conscious being advisor dude.
I want the conscience being advisor dude to be fucking tired though, because no matter how hard he works, sometimes it just doesn't work out.
Okay, he'll be like a Eeyore personality to him.
Yeah, where he's like, you really should wait until another person finishes talking before talking.
Yeah.
You know, fuck it, whatever.
And
like,
I want the narration, like the narrator voice, to sound kind of like a Morgan Freeman Bastion kind of dude. More like Bastion, where it's like a deep British dude, and he's just over it. He just hates everything, and he's just trying to make you a better person. And that's the story, quote unquote, of the game. And yeah, you get put into, maybe the whole game is like literally plays out a whole day in this dude's life. Like it starts off, he wakes up in the morning, you get introduced to this conscious person, and you are super pissed off, and then you have to go to the local coffee shop to get your morning coffee. And then the first mission is you going to get coffee. The second mission would be like going to work, maybe then going to a theme park, like something really hard, you know what I mean? And then like going out to like a bar where it gets even harder, you know, and just continue.
Yeah. That. Okay.
And that's the whole game would be like one day in this dude's life, and each level is like a different hour or something.
We could do that. So
ordering lunch.
Super easy, because I'm somebody who gets angry pretty easily. I get frustrated pretty easily. So it's funny because you wouldn't think so. I'm pretty happy most of the time. I hate disrespect. So there's different things that can be done. At the coffee shop, you can have someone who doesn't know the menu at all and is like sitting there, and like, let's say you have a time limit. So you have to say the right things to help them with the menu, but they like don't know. So they're like, okay, so like, what's an espresso? Okay. So if I get chai, like I want a chai tea coffee, and they're like, excuse me, I want a chai coffee. And you're like, chai, what? They're like, a chai latte, that's coffee, right? And you're like, I got to go to work, ma'am.
Yeah.
Like, I'm right behind you. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where
like maybe it's like you have to solve small problems in each level to get to the objective, kind of like that. And then maybe you could also, because I want this to be like kind of third person free roaming environments where you could walk around this coffee shop and you could like interact with certain people around. And then maybe the gameplay is you could find out how to get her drink. She wants a dirty chai is what she wants, but you don't know what that it's called, a dirty chai.
I didn't even know that existed
until you go talk to this guy who's sitting down, who's drinking a dirty chai, and you like interact with him. You find out about the dirty chai. So you go back to the lady and then you let her know about, like, I think that's the gameplay I want, where you're like solving a puzzle to get somewhere, to get the thing, but in the most polite way as possible.
You have to behave as if you're a part of the world instead of being dropped in and the world serves you.
Like you can't just leave that lady when you find out that she can't, and you can't help her.
And you can't hop over every single table on the way to talk to someone else because it's the fastest way to get there. You literally have to get up, go around everyone, and then talk to them like you would in the real world.
Right. And you wouldn't talk to every single person there either, because then people would just think you're weird. You know what I mean?
No, at that point, if that happens, if you talk to every single person, an employee would come out and say, excuse me, there's no soliciting. I'm going to have to ask you to leave.
Right.
And then it would be like game over.
Yeah. And then like you also can't like bump into people. Like maybe you could,
because you can make them spill their drinks and then they will get aggro at you.
Yeah.
Or drop drop items.
I'd say we'd even like maybe get more points or something for like doing polite things, like open the door for someone, and doing stuff like that, like picking someone's pen up for them or something. Like you could do that stuff too and get extra points. And yeah, I think there is going to be a level at each of these. Sorry, I will use better wording. There's going to be a meter for each of these levels of like annoyance, where if people do start getting too annoyed at you, you will get kicked off and it'll be game over.
Now, I want to go so far as that it even monitors the camera, so that if you're talking to someone and you pan over to see something else and they're like, hey, are you even paying attention? Like,
exactly. Oh, I see what you mean. Like the camera that the player is controlling.
So like if you're in a conversation with someone, you should be looking at the non-player character.
Right.
If you do something like look over to see like something else, they're going to remark about it. If you look down, like let's say you're talking to a woman character and you look at her cleavage, she'll be like, are you serious?
Yeah. So do you...
like, it'll be small stuff like that, because I feel like I see where you're going with this. It's almost like a social commentary about how we as players behave in these worlds.
Yeah, where we're just the rudest motherfuckers ever. But do you think then in that in that sense it should be first person? Because I think that would go to being first person better.
Yeah, I think it would be better as a first person game, where it'd be a first person, almost like walking simulator RPG, where it's like there's visual novel elements. Because there has to be tons of writing going on.
Right. Fully voice acted, multiple characters talking all at the same time. And also your conscious guy is going to be talking a lot. And he'll be like your inner monologue throughout the game type of thing. Dialogue choices, obviously. You could get people pissed off and all that from choices you make in dialogue.
And we can make this hard in a number of different ways. Like you said, driving is one thing, and it can lead up to also like a date where you choose your character, and then based off that, you can even we'll choose, like you get to choose the gender of your date or choose whatever they are. You can choose your date in whatever aspect you want, and they'll show up. So there's driving.
Yeah, that could be like the dinner sequence or whatever.
Because I would think already dates are hard in general. You know, like a first date with a person you've never met. Now imagine you in a video game world trying to behave. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so that could be like the dinner sequence. I'm totally cool with that.
And I'd want it to be where you have to be cool to the waiter, but you also have to have realistic dialogue where at some point, because I know I do it, if I'm trying, like, I'm like, oh, she's best girl, I want to ship her with my main character. And you just say exactly what they want to hear. I'd want writing to be like, so are you just trying to tell me what you want to hear? You seem a little boring. Like you're just being nice.
Or if it's
like,
if it's the waiter, they'd be like, I'm just trying to work. I don't need a conversation right now. Can I like go to my other tables, please?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But totally. What else could we do here? I think, we
could even do it where, oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, in terms of driving, I don't think it's going to be like you actually have to drive anywhere. I think it's just going to plop you in different locations throughout the day. But yeah, I like the idea of it just being one whole day of this dude's life, and that's the whole game. I don't think it's going to be that long at all. And only like I feel like each level will only have one way to solve it. You just have to figure out how to do it and just do it nicely. You know what I mean?
I want there to be certain rules that happen. Like I said, so it's going to mentor the camera angle. And then another one that's going to catch players off guard is you have to choose dialogue options, and there can be a time limit and it'll expire, but also like you have to do it at the right time. So if you do it at the beginning, because you already know what you want to say and the player's still talking, they'll be like, you just interrupted me. That's super fucking rude.
Yeah.
Like kind of thing where if you interrupt a non-player character, they'll remark on that too.
Totally. I'm down with all of it. The end of the game, I guess, it would just be like your conscience telling you either you did it. I guess it would be like, hey, good job. You're a better person. Now just keep that attitude or whatever, or I'll be back. I don't know how the game would actually end. Does he die?
Hey, you're the first soul I've saved. See how easy it is when you just listen to me?
And then you get hit by a car.
Well, my purpose here is done. It looks like you can pass. And it's like, what do you mean pass? Right. It just ends.
Is that too abrupt of an ending? Would people get pissed?
No, well, they might. I would laugh. I'd giggle. I'd be like, all right.
If that's the case, we'll skip a section for right now. We'll go back to it. But for pricing, I don't think people would get as pissed if this game was like $15.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I still want it to look pretty good. Like I want it to look pretty amazing, but maybe it is a little janky.
Oh, what if your score at the end is based off the animal you get reincarnated into? So if you just do horrible, you're like an ant, or you're like a roach.
So you want it to
do
be
really
like,
well.
I don't know what else to relate this to, but you know, at the end of Toy Story Mania at Disneyland Adventures, you get a score and it gives you like different animals that you are. Sure, we could do that. And then there's like a short cut scene of like the score that you got, and then a short cut scene of you dying and then being reincarnated as a different animal. I like it.
All right.
I also want, maybe the score could be calculated by retries and also how many times you actually like game overed, you know what I mean? That will negatively impact your score. And we'll also keep track of times that you just reload a checkpoint type of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'm starting to think this could be a game that could be used as a slight educational tool.
Slight. I also agree, but slight.
Because emphasis. I was thinking about this, and I would be able to play and do well if the game was set in the United States. But if it was set in like Japan, I think I would get a lot of things wrong in general. And that's where my conscience would have to come in and be like, wow.
DLC.
No, not that deep. Less. You're only going to 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, all right, let me figure this out.
I like the idea. Maybe different DLC expansions or something in different countries.
Yeah.
But cool. And then there will be like a true ending where if you do everything perfectly all in one playthrough, you get the true ending where there is actually like a small, maybe even like a small explorable space where you go to heaven or something.
There's one last level where you're an angel in heaven and you have to be nice.
I know what it is. If you do get the perfect score, you don't die at the very end. And there is one last level where you wake up the next morning, and maybe it's like a soft reset thing. The game automatically starts like a new game plus.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what would be plus. Everyone's nicer
just no
to
conscious
you.
guy, like he's not there.
Okay,
yeah. And then maybe the conscious guy in the normal game is kind of like your tutorial / hint guide. Like he'll like help you with the stuff. And then new game plus, that's only unlockable if you do it perfectly, is like hard mode. So you unlock like hard mode or whatever.
There we go. Okay, I like that.
Cool. Real quick before we move on, let's talk about how it looks. Because in my head, it looks like Hitman, but it could also look like a really shitty VR game or something. Speaking of VR, I also see this with VR compatibility.
Oh, yeah. VR compatibility would be even funner.
Yeah.
We have to realize that there's going to be a certain segment of our player base that'll never finish the game because they're just going to want to fuck shit up.
Right.
Because they're like, this is the most upset I've ever seen an NPC. This is the most upset I've ever seen a world get at me. Yeah, VR would work great. I'm thinking more Hitman than like bad VR graphics or anything like that. And I think it'll be stylized but not hyper realistic either.
Okay, cool. So I think maybe it'll look like how, and I don't mean this to sound bad. I just mean to make it a $15 game with all the stuff that we have in it, all the voice acting and everything, but make it look like a Witcher game on Switch. You know what I mean? Where it's like,
I see.
It looks good, but not great. Like it's a little pixely.
Yeah.
It's not super sharp. But it's not really meant to look good. It's just more about the engagements. But I don't want it to look cartoony because then it takes out of it being like you have to be polite. You know what I mean? The more realistic it looks, like where if people look kind of realistic at least, the easier it is to make the player try to be polite. You know what I mean? Whereas if they're talking to a cartoon character, who cares?
Yeah.
So okay. Realistic looking, but not good because it's a cheap game, and most of the assets went into voice acting.
There you go.
All right. Pricing. You think 15 is too cheap? Maybe 20?
We could do 20. I think 20 is good.
Cool.
$19.99.
Music. What do you think we're listening to?
I think it has its own soundtrack.
Do you want to make it so we just hire like a band to make an original soundtrack, and each scene will have a different type of sound to it?
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking like some nice ambient noises. I'm not even thinking like a 3 or 4 piece band, like where there's a guitar and drums. I'm thinking this is going to be more, it could be like synthy elevator music, just something on in the background where music is not going to be the forefront, or something where this isn't going to be a game where you think, man, the soundtrack was fantastic.
Mm-hmm. It's just background noise. Real quick, what city do you think this dude lives in? You want to make it like, I don't know, Chicago, New York?
It's funny you're saying Chicago because I was like, if we want to make this hard, Boston.
Boston, sure. Let's make it Boston. All right.
Because from what I hear, there's some angry characters in Boston.
Never been. I don't think. I might have. Well, Alex, it's time to start your timer because it's time to name this game.
I already thought. All right, and it starts. I was thinking Make Manners Matter.
I was thinking Day in the Life.
Yeah, Day in the Life. We'll do that. 8 seconds. So, A Day in the Life is a walking simulator visual novel where you play as a man who wakes up and has to go through the world and just be a good citizen. Wait in line for coffee, go into traffic, go to work, go to a meeting, come home, go on a date. But you must be a good denizen of this earth. And if you are not, your conscience will tell you, and you will not get everything that you deserve on earth in A Day in the Life of.
A Day in the Life.
A Day in the Life.
All right. Now that we have a complete game, what game studio would you sign to be able to make A Day in the Life the best?
I feel like, of course, Campo Santo can do a good job.
That's a good one. Let me throw a wild one out there to you, which I think they'll do pretty good with. Rockstar.
Oh man, that's actually really good. That's a more entertaining idea than mine. Mine, I feel like, was a little safe. Rockstar would do great if this were a game about minding your manners in Boston, made by Rockstar. You kidding me?
Like a short, small game, like a proof of concept by Rockstar.
Yeah, like how they did
Bully.
ping pong or bully. Yeah. That'd be actually really, really good.
Kojima Productions.
No.
It's weird enough.
Then it would be like I feel like it would be too fancy. I feel like another one that would do a great job in a different way than Rockstar would be Quantic Dream.
Yeah, that would be good. Quantic Dream is a good idea. But yeah, Campo Santo I think is more like the vibe that we're going for. But yeah, Quantic Dream and Rockstar would do something crazy with this.
Most definitely.
So, I think we have a game here, Alex. What do you think? Would this be a game you'd want to play? And is it fun?
Oh yeah, this would be a game that I'd want to play for sure.
Really?
This would be a game I'd want to stream.
Huh.
Yeah.
I don't know. It surprises me that you'd want to play this game. I feel like it's not a game for you.
Walking simulator where I get to talk dialogue with people and there's actually like realistic effects that happen. Yeah. I like that stuff.
Interesting.
That was the number one thing that kind of brought me into Dragon Age Origins. Were those
camera pans where if you start looking at her cleavage, the NPC will yell at you. Yeah, totally.
Not just that, but it felt like more realistic in terms of romantic dialogue and dialogue in general, where if you said something wrong or you said something insensitive without knowing the character's history, you would get it would be a detriment. How about you, Jay? Would this be a game that you'd want to play?
I don't know. I think I would give it a shot.
Is this like, do you think people listening right now are like, wow, they really miss going outside?
Is that the vibe you get from this?
Now that I'm thinking about it, yeah, right. A day in the life.
Yeah.
Hey guys, remember what real life was like? Let's play it.
But yeah, I feel like it's a game I'd start and then halfway through I just kind of like drop off if it didn't grab me. You know what I mean?
No, I get you. I feel like this game would be short enough. If I paid $20, I'm like, I'm gonna beat it at some point.
Exactly. And with that, our 149th IP has gone gold. We hope you look forward to this experience that will probably never release. You can write to appoundgames@gmail.com if you have anything passionate to the game we created today. Also, give us feedback. We are still learning how to make the show better, and your feedback really helps. We have a Patreon. If you'd like to back our ideas, please head over to patreon.com/wearenotgamedevs. Patrons receive episodes 2 days early and an extra podcast at the beginning, which you caught the tail end of our conversation at the beginning of this episode. That's patreon.com/wearenotgamedevs. If you liked our show, why not subscribe and give us all the stars on Apple Podcasts, Google Play Store, Spotify, YouTube, and more. And if they ask for a review instead of reviewing our show, become your inner game critic and review A Day in the Life, the video game we just created. Thank you for joining us today. We'll be back next Friday with another new IP. Again, my name is J.E.
And I'm AG.
Thank you. And please remember that we are not game devs.
So what inspired me for this game was The Good Place on Netflix, where they had to do endless simulations of them trying to be a good person until they make it into heaven.
Is that the show that you said you're copying off of?
Yeah, I said that's a show I was getting inspiration off of a little bit. And then what other games like Detroit or other games where they're a little bit smarter? So if you take too long doing dialogue options or anything like that, they're like, well, screw you.
Yeah.
And then they walk away.
The worst one recently was Cyberpunk, where they just didn't wait long enough for me. Maybe that was the most realistic, where they're like, hey, B, you there? I'm like, give me like a second just to read the choices here. Come on.